This is Mark Livesey, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Someone tell me where the Humane Society of the United States has ever bought 1 acre of habitat, where they have ever funded one project that got rid of invasive weed species, where they've ever funded one project that got rid of the Asian carp in the Illinois River. I mean,
none of it.
Pick whatever it is. They've got net assets in the hundreds of millions, and they've never done anything.
I did this whole series of posts of the hierarchy of dead animals on Instagram, on social media. So I had like a picture of chicken. No one cares. Like dead, like chicken meat. A picture of chicken. A picture of fish, like cut up fish. No one cares. A picture of an actual fish. Still, no one seems to give a picture of a dead turkey. No one seemed to care. It seemed like But then I showed bear meat. And I showed some bear meat that was just in a bag. Well, what about that? And I'm like, now we're getting weird, right? Yeah. Well, it's just meat, but it says bear on it. This is bear meat.
Yeah. We care about wildlife. We care about landscapes. We care about all the things that are necessary for conservation. We'll tax ourselves 11%.
But if I showed an actual bear, like we posted some pictures of he's taking me bear hunting, actual bears that I've killed. Gee, I've never had anything in my life where people get mad at me more.
Will, Bros, and I had cooked up our share of plans over the years, but none ever came to fruition. When he passed, Will and I made a promise to each other to bring Andrew with us to the north and share with him our great adventure. Despite the peril that lay between us and civilization, we embraced the danger, knowing that if ever there was a chance worth taking, this was it.
On this episode of Gritty Bowmen, we hang out with Rockhouse Motion in Salt Lake City, Utah at the Monaco Hotel during their Cabelas commercial shoot. You know who Rockhouse Motion is if you've seen their Yukon moose hunting film Beyond the Roar or their awesome whitetail film Game of Inches. But even if you've seen these films, you still may not know who Rockhouse Motion is exactly. Well, that's what this podcast is all about. It's your chance to get to know Rockhouse Motion. Who are they, and why do you care? I'll tell you why I care. Because Rockhouse Motion makes thought-provoking, awe-inspiring films that change people's perceptions about hunters and about hunting.
A life in its entirety is nothing more than a collection of moments. Hardships, celebrations, losses and victories. They are the slides we dust off and look at to reflect on who we are. Kneeling in the snow, no longer shivering, marveling at our good fortune and knowing what brought us here. This is who I am.
Rockhouse Motion films make you laugh, cry, and in some cases, they motivate you to get off the couch, get in the game, and have an adventure of your own. The Rockhouse team is a refreshing mixture of self-deprecation and dashing confidence, not an easy mix to achieve. They exude creativity and genius while remaining classy and down to earth.
I'm cold and I'm tired. And all the equipment's tired. And some of it's broken. And some of it's been drowned.
If you haven't seen their films, check out the show notes for this podcast on our website at grittybowmen.com. And if you like their work and you are inspired by what they do, please take a moment to follow Rockhouse Motion on Instagram and or Facebook and tell them you love their work. And if you're feeling extra spirited, send them a note and tell them to stay gritty.
We don't need to film the whole day. We're not garbage collectors. We're thieves.
My stuff's not as good as yours.
My muscles aren't as big as yours. And knowing you beyond your final work. And
I don't buy stuff unless I don't
you
buy.
You should follow up with the unless.
Like,
send me stuff.
No. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. We are in Salt Lake City, Utah, in the Monaco Hotel, right?
Yep. Indeed.
Yeah. Which is pretty ritzy, man. I'm not going to lie. It feels stuck up in here a little bit.
Yeah, it's very on brand.
Yeah, it's elite. It's definitely up there.
Yeah, we're pretty thankful that we're here in the fall because we actually get to sleep. Because when we're here in the summer with the early sunrises and late sunsets and shoot times, you sit in the bed and you think about how comfortable it is, and then your alarm goes off.
Are you guys like just filming sunsets and sundowns? I mean, is that?
It's pretty. I had somebody describe my job the other day as smoking joints and filming sunsets, and that's like 50%
Partially
true. You can
50%
choose. But yeah, I mean, you always want to get your corner hours in the good light. So
well, we are here with Rockhouse Motion, and for people who are listening, everyone pretty much probably knows exactly who Rockhouse Motion is, but in the hunting industry. But if they don't, you guys have done work like Game of Inches, which is a whitetail hunting film, which is brilliant. And you did just recently Beyond the Roar, a moose hunt in the Yukon.
Over there?
I wasn't sure if it was Canada or Alaska, right? Like it's
a cold place.
Yes, that's why I said north. I mean, you see how I maneuvered
correct.
that? That's right. Be as vague as possible.
Yeah, always.
Nail it. So no, you guys, and that movie was amazing. Chad watched it last night and
doing the homework.
Yeah,
nice. Doing
the homework, and it's a cut above the rest. I mean, it's amazing. Your work is amazing, and I've been a huge fan for a long time. I first came on right when Game of Inches came out. I watched it, and then I watched it like, I don't know, 20 times. And I told you when we were at ATA last year, this is Aaron Hitchens, by the way. We'll get around the rest of the room. But I told you, Aaron, that that I would watch it and then try to copy parts of it because I want to make a very moving and you know like motivational and exciting movie. So I'm watching what you do and I'm trying to copy shots and editing and all that stuff and get ideas from it.
Well, I mean,
it's
that's
way
7 hours of Game of Inches watching.
Yeah,
you know that's a
no. I got it down, dude. Like I can quote. You know, I probably can't now because it's been a while now. But my brother was helping me edit, and he's like, "Seriously, bro, you're watching that movie again?" I'm like, yeah, man, it's like it's got cool stuff. It's cool. No, I really did. No joke. It's a great film, and I like how you are the message behind it, which was. You know, all hunters are on the same page, and rather than fighting within our ranks, we should be supporting each other, whether you shoot a compound, a recurve, long distance rifle, or whether you just fish like some people do, which is, I'm not judging, but you should hunt. But no, for real, like I love the film, and then you guys came out with Beyond the Roar recently, and I have a ton of questions about that because we were joking about it last night. When you sail down the river...
Sail is a good word, too, for sure.
It sounds epic.
Yeah. I'm Captain Ahab Hitchens.
So, when you float...
Wallace.
All right, fine. When you float down the river...
I'm calling it sail forever.
Thank you. Yeah. When you sail, it sounds... Yes.
When we surf the river.
And when you're going down the river... Okay, look, you had the drone up above, filming from above. Okay, we're sitting there talking about it. Okay, you had to be like, this is a win-win. All right, whether we dump the boat and crash, we get killer footage. If we make it, we get killer footage. Right? It's like
It was one of those things where if we make it, we get killer footage. If we dump the boat, and we live. It'll be really, really killer footage.
Right. Like, so it's a win-win in my book.
And
so actually, you had to turn the camera on. So I pictured like these juvenile kids like, let's do it.
It's interesting because a lot of people have slowly over time, and you know, as you read reviews and stuff online, people are pretty convinced that we flipped
on purpose.
And I can promise you, as one of the people that was in the water, we did not flip on purpose. And if you watch the clip, the uncut clip as Will guides us down the rapid, and you see the look on his face as somebody who spends every day all summer and all fall on the water, he is truly terrified. And as we go over and the boat flips, it's hard to hear in the film, especially once we remove the pre-flip burst of profanity. But as he hits that rock, you just hear him like squeakily exclaim, "We're dead!"
What do you say?
We're dead. But if you listen really carefully in the film, it goes, "We're dead," and so that's the last thing I hear. I'm like, man, I think we're gonna hit this rock. You know, and you're just exhausted. paddling as hard as you can because you know you can't hit it, and then all of a sudden, like my trusted pillar of strength, Will in the back of the boat, like the undaunted
abandoned
Will.
ship.
Yeah, we're dead. And I'm like, well, here we go. Like, and you know, you have all your layers on under the dry suit, and that water hits you pretty hard and pretty cold. And as much as I am now sitting here thankful that we got that clip, I can promise everyone that has ever questioned it was absolutely not staged. We would have done it somewhere else, and we definitely didn't do it.
So tell me this too, like Chad was bringing up a point, like there were certain shots you got during the crash from like cameras that dip in the water and things like that. So how did you set the scene for this? Were you like, okay, this could go south. We need to make sure we have cameras ready to get, the whole thing. Is that kind of how it goes down?
Well, what we did, it was only Matt filming. So we had, it was Will and I in the boat, our friend Terry Mill.
Matt's right here.
Matt is right here.
Matt, your last name?
White.
Matt White is filming. You're in the boat.
Matt's driving the drone.
Okay.
We have a GoPro rolling in the drone. And then over the course of that day, it was basically like a 9-kilometer, whatever, 6-mile canyon, basically. Mm-hmm. And it was just rapid after rapid after rapid after rapid. And over the course of those rapids, we actually flipped 3 times. None of which were on purpose, especially after the first one. The second 2 were really, really not on purpose. But, it was over the course of the day. So the first ones, Matt they'd float through. Matt would go set up, and that's where you get us hitting the waves and the splash. And then we have, Matt filming with an underwater housing from boat to boat as we both go through the rapid at the same time. Then you have the GoPro footage, and then I guess you have that drone footage, which is a story in and of itself. Because as we hit that rock and flipped, Matt basically had to decide whether he was more interested in the shot or preserving our lives. And if you've seen the film, you know that he keeps going.
Yeah, the shot right here, brother.
And so we were truly, at that point, it's like a pretty high risk situation.
Yeah.
Especially with all of our gear and there's a bend in the river with an undercut rock, and like it could have gone pretty south. And so we're very frantically swimming to shore, and we managed to get in, and we're catching our breath and just sort of looking around, and we look upstream, and all of a sudden we see Matt bobbing in the river, and he's just screaming, and you can't hear anything. And
you're in the water?
Yeah.
With like a life jacket on, or like?
Oh no. So what happened?
You had your life jacket and the dry suit.
Yeah, in the dry suit. But what happened was we have a plan, right? Like I'm going to fly. I'm going to shoot this bird's eye
fly
epic
the
thing.
drone.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They crash. They make it through. Whatever. Like this is the shot we need at this point in the filming process.
If you go down, it's just the cost of making a film.
Yeah, and
it's the truth.
So Terry, who's in the raft with me, I'm on a rock in the river because the banks are steep. We can't get on the shore. The plan is I'm going to fly it. He's going to catch it because there's nowhere to land the thing. Like he held it so I could take it off. Well, tragedy.
It just sounds like a bad idea.
Tragedy ensues, and Terry takes off to go help those guys, like get to the shore and get the boat to shore.
Save some lives.
Yeah, exactly. Save some lives. Well, I'm stuck with the bird in the air and a red camera sitting right in front of me that I want that in my hand so I can go capture the aftermath and all this drama and tension and story. So I'm like, screw it. I can land that on the boat that's floating in the eddy back and forth on top of the case, so 4 square feet.
You couldn't land it.
So I get it down, and it's like 4 inches over the top, and I'm like, all right, it's time to commit.
do this.
Just let it go. It comes down. A propeller catches a dry bag that we had by our Yeti cooler, throws it in the river. And I was like, I didn't care about the drone, but that clip, that SD card. So I throw the remote in the boat and just jump into the river, thinking that I'm going to dive in front of it and find it.
And when you wear a dry suit,
is it sinking?
Yes, immediately. But the current's so fast, I'm thinking maybe it'll stay higher.
Yeah,
the current's so fast.
And Matt's expecting to get under the water to be able to retrieve.
But he's got a dry suit on.
With the dry
that
suit,
I didn't bleed.
Gaskets. And so when you go in the water and you're expecting to swim, you have to crouch and let the air out. Otherwise, you float. So Matt's predicament is not only can he not get under the water to get to the drone, but he can't get his arms underwater to swim. So instead of being able to swim to
shore, I just look like a yellow buoy.
His arms are like these giant adult water wings, and he's just slapping the water frantically, yelling what I thought was Rope! I need a rope!
Where's the drone now?
It's at this point we don't know.
That's
where
the great
at.
mystery.
Yeah.
What he was saying is drone, look for the drone. So
But
we
wait,
ended up
you've got a shot with the drone.
Yeah,
That's a different shot?
No.
So Aaron saves my life, like literally, because I'm way out. There's no way I'm getting ashore before an even gnarlier rapid with an undercut. Mm-hmm. So he thinks I'm saying rope. I'm saying look for the drone. Like they could do anything if they saw it, but I'm just like so like locked in on we're getting this thing. It's got the best clip ever on it.
I will die for this clip.
And I almost
that's
did.
not an exaggeration.
Aaron
Matt was prepared to die. for
sends
the
his
drone.
throw rope, and I'm like this, and it hits my back in my hand.
Wow.
Throw ropes are supposed to like go here, and then you wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
It hits in my hand, and they pull me in, and they're bewildered. They're like, "What are you like? What is happening right now?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I told him the drone crashed, and then I threw
He basically raved like giant
tantrum, like go off by myself, like kicking grass, and
We like pull him into shore, and he's just like marching around. You
just had to wait it out.
But
Did you
just
come on?
raving.
Be honest. You went off on him too.
No,
Did everyone
no.
have a meltdown?
No, we weren't.
was
sure.
one of
I didn't
those-
know it was
You
happening.
just watched Matt have.
I thought he
like-
just fell in.
if you've
got
ever seen
excited.
someone go so far off that you're like, I'm not even going to talk to that person right now.
When
'cause
you're
they're
in the
completely
wilderness like
unstable.
that, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Especially on the end of a long trip, especially with a lot of meat packing and a lot of heavy loads and tiredness and cold and hunger. Yeah, you see some snappage.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was just like, and it
was
wasn't like
disappointment.
outward anger. Like I just wasn't sure what was going on. I just like, Matt was just
disappointment.
jumped in the river and just doing stuff, and there were arms, and it was like, all right.
So, yeah, we sit like we get their canoe flip back over and are draining and stuff, and I'm like, maybe it's stuck underneath the raft, like shot in the dark. There's no way. But so me and Terry, they're still recovering and licking their wounds and getting gear restrapped, and Terry and I go back to the raft, and I've still got my dry suit on, so I'm buoyant.
Yeah.
So it's like 6 feet deep under the raft. I'm like, Terry, I want you to step in the middle of my back and push me to the bottom of the river, and I'll see if it's stuck down here in the rocks.
And we're looking at this from downstream, and you can see Terry eventually has both of Matt's ankles in his hands,
He's like
just
plunging
shoving
me.
him.
Wow, and this water's warm?
Oh, yeah, it's great. Like 32 degrees, But he pushes me under, and there's this glorious white drone stuck
You
on the
gotta
bottom
be
of the
kidding
river.
me.
Got caught in the eddy.
Got caught in the eddy. So it went under and then just getting recirculated right there in the underneath the raft. And so we got it, and the clip, the card was fine. I made sure to cut the clip before I tried landing. Otherwise, we'd have lost that shot, which was a pivotal role
Nice.
in it. And all's well that ends well. And we still use that drone today.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
What drone is it?
It's an Inspire one. That's actually its second dunk. I wrecked it in a lake in Atlanta one time, too.
Dude, you guys are pros, man. It's a whole other level of professional stuff.
Yeah, aerial aquatic recovery. What?
Wow. I did not know. I mean, that's a whole...
There's another layer to that story.
that
Just
is.
burn through some quick introductory questions.
Wow.
30-minute detour.
Wow. I can't believe that. So here's the thing, and I'm just going to go out there, So when I make film, I'm the video guy, and I'm often the hunter guy, or my buddy is, or whatever. So that whole, what do you call that? Third plane or fourth wall? That thing's just annihilated, right, with Gritty Bowmen production. And I would like to see behind that fourth wall, like, do you ever run the GoPro and he's upside down like a buoy with the feet in the air? Because people want to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, and we tried to do that a little bit in the end credits of the film, where you can see the raft and you can see Matt, showing some emotion, and we have a Outdoor Life actually ran a clip. There's a series of shorts if you want to see a little bit more about the film, but there's some stuff, some detail as to how Matt managed media and charged batteries and stuff, and there's a short piece there.
From what I've seen, I did it wrong.
Yeah. Learning from the Bowmen.
That's nice. Dude, I have some ways of getting things done. It's a little unorthodox. That's it.
And
Hi,
that's
I'm Colin.
Colin, let's have an introduction.
All right, so I'm Colin. I've
Pull that thing right into those
right in that mustache.
Yeah, right there. I like
I don't
that.
want to cover it up.
No, you're good.
Is this camera on me? Is this one my?
Yeah.
That's my angle.
So they're all on me now. Cool.
That voice.
Yeah.
It's very.
It's
James
like a girl
Earl Jones.
voice. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's got a smoothness to it that I like.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever said that to me.
So
Anyway.
first and last name.
Colin Macmillan is my name.
Macmillan.
Macmillan.
He got mad that people were spelling it wrong, so he overpronounces the A now.
Nice.
That's true. Yeah. Not Macmillan.
Not Macmillan. It's Macmillan.
It is
Like McDonald's, or is it McDonald's?
like McDowell's
Okay.
from the movie. Anyway, so I've been working with these guys for about 1.5 years now, and this project happened right when I came on board, the Beyond the Roar project.
Nice.
So that was pretty exciting to get on and then go to the Yukon and shoot with them.
So, kind of, what's your role and your like special powers?
I'm kind of a computer nerd, so like keyboard shortcuts. I'd say that's my superpower.
Control Alt something.
Yeah.
So, do you do a lot of editing or
Yeah.
filming or both or kind of everything?
I would say more editing, more behind the computer time than
Got it.
behind the camera time, although I do spend a fair amount of time shooting.
Colin's a very accomplished photographer, and he shot all the time lapses in Beyond the Roar,
Nice.
which was quite the task.
Yeah.
And Matt, what's your primary like special powers?
the camera,
Yeah.
the gear, the image. Like that's
Got
my
it.
whole game. And then things that I don't like, servers and stuff that I'm not that into, but someone has to make sure that stuff's happening. But yeah, like the end product image and what that looks like and how what gear we need to accomplish that.
Okay. And you?
Just grow hair.
You're the star of the show. You're Brad Pitt. River runs through it.
No, I mean, the front end, sort of the creative conception and direction. If we're on a more formal set, I'll direct things. I'll also shoot, and I definitely have a passion for the image. But as soon as it gets too technical, I gladly pass it off. So yeah, I'll edit stuff and make movies,
Nice.
take pictures, tell stories.
And Logan?
I'm a sheepdog. I just kind of like keep all of these guys.
Herd them together?
Yeah, that's pretty much my role.
And what's your last name?
My last name's Ross. Logan Ross. Yep.
Logan Ross. Mm-hmm. And how long have you been part of this group?
Fairly new. When did I join on officially?
We started dating like 1.5 years ago and started working together about 4 months ago.
You're dating?
And
No.
cut.
Yeah, right.
And we're still dating.
Nice.
We've been working together for that long.
Yeah.
That's nice.
It works out well.
And Logan, you've been hunting?
Yeah, I just got into it. So I got my bow last November at the end of hunting season, I guess December. And so I had the winter time to get all dialed in and learn to draw. And are you pulling your mic away?
I just pulled my mic away because I felt like I was holding my breath and it made my head hurt.
Okay. So just got into hunting. I harvested my first turkeys in the spring. So that was my first.
They're small targets, man.
Yeah, it was super fun. We went down to Kansas, and it was great. That was shotgun hunting. And then this fall, I've been bow hunting with Aaron in Alberta. We went after elk and muleys, and now when we get back up there, November is going to be whitetail. So hopefully I can make it happen by the end of this season.
Nice. Do they put you to work with cameras and stuff?
Yeah, I kind of do, I guess, some gear prep. I'm more so just whatever needs to happen on the side. So if they need an extra shot, I'll take it. But most of the time it's like, grab this lens, do that.
And production. She's selling herself a little bit short.
Yeah.
But I'm her boyfriend, so I can't say that. Somebody else say something nice quickly.
Logan's great, boss.
I'm also the director of human resources for Rockhouse, so all of our human resources policies come through me. Also, my girlfriend works for us. Weird.
Nice. Well done.
No, it's pretty normal that everyone at Rockhouse knows how to do every step of the process.
Right.
It's actually a mandate
Kind
of
of
ours.
a jack of all trades.
And that's
you can't anticipate what Aaron might need or Colin might need if you don't understand their job, even if it's not at the level that they understand their job.
Right.
So like everyone's a Swiss Army knife, and some pieces of each person is sharper, than the other one. But there's this base understanding of the entire game.
And that's a really good point. As you probably noticed with each of us, we did a pretty terrible job answering what our special and magical powers were, what our specificity and our highest level of utility, I guess, within the Rockhouse circle is. We all did a pretty terrible job of answering that question, and we all do it all. And to Matt's point, some of us do it better than others. But I think that's a big differentiating factor for us is when we walk on set. If we're making a TV commercial, we're making a film, the guy that's directing it and knows what the guy that eventually edits it is going to have to deal with, and the guy that's shooting it is shooting for the edit. And so it allows us to work really fast, really cohesively, and create, hopefully, a premium product.
It seems like that would make it a lot smoother. You're going to have a lot better product. But I've been in a career where, I'm supposed to know the other guy's job, and he knows my job, so we've trained each other so that if he's not there, I can still kind of do it. But he's obviously the guy that's really good at it. I have no patience for learning crap I don't want to learn. So,
well, for us,
how does that work?
There's straight no room for somebody to say, that's not my job.
No, that would not ever, that doesn't fit the culture.
We just can't do it.
And we all like learning stuff. I mean, that's basically, we've worked hard to build a team of people that, that are motivated and curious and, are absolutely dissatisfied with anything other than the best. And so with that, there are a ton of things that I, even if you're not specifically interested in the, like with a lot of the stuff that Colin will do is over my head from a technical standpoint. And while I might not be interested in the specifics of learning about, optimizing my keystrokes when I'm doing Photoshop work, if I learn that from Colin, what I do like having is time, because then I can either go shoot something with the camera or ideally a weapon. And having that time is enough of a motivation that it drives me to learn it. And that's what takes us to another level.
Yep.
So what do you guys use to edit?
Computers.
I know that. Come on. Help a brother out.
We use Adobe Premiere.
Do you?
What are you on right now? You're in a beta?
Yeah, I'm on the 2017 beta currently, and I got that from a buddy here in Salt Lake City. Can I name him?
That'd
probably be...
I probably wouldn't.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Makes it sound important.
You know who you are.
We protect our sources.
You know who you are, bud. And I sure appreciate it.
So, so Premiere. And
that was a cool one-word answer, guys. You're really bad at this.
Adobe Creative Cloud is our platform for
pretty much all the software that gets used is through Adobe.
And I don't know if these guys will support me on this. I think they will.
Yeah.
But everybody complains about the cloud-based. I hear a ton of people complaining about the cloud-based Adobe stuff because they just keep charging you over and over.
Yeah.
But the elimination of...
It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, keep your stuff fresh, and it's amazing how many tools that are truly, truly useful that are consistently rolling out that I personally would absolutely miss. But we learn,
and it's all integrated.
Keep that stuff current.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The tech is such a moving target with the cameras and the software that part of what drives us and the learning and the hunger to continue to figure things out is the thing that makes it so much fun, because everything is pushing forward all the time. Everything in the industry that we're in is
changes
moving.
every
It is
day.
And it's almost always, with some very few exceptions, it's almost always I've wanted that for so long. Or, man, that's going to save me so much time.
Yeah.
Or I can do the radish stuff now.
What radishes?
I can eat radishes while I edit.
See, they're great on set, Aaron.
That's what happens when you try to not cuss.
So the change is the only constant, right? So, I get a new phone, or a new upgrade comes out for my laptop, and I'm like, I really don't want to run this, because then the buttons are going to switch on me, the look's going to change, but I do it anyway because you just got to embrace it. It's just part of staying current, and
that's more than a technical piece. I mean, that's the thing with the style of work and the type of stories you tell and the way that you deliver that from a business, and a creative standpoint. You always have to be willing to challenge yourself with the new and find a way to be, whether it's with the most current, all of the trends, whether it's technical or professional or consumer-based stuff. You always have to be looking ahead and just refuse to be refuse to get too comfortable.
Tell me, what's it like when you put a movie out like The Roar? Okay, you get it all done and stuff, and you put it out there to put out content that is that awesome, right? You put it out, and people can't help but just be in love with it. And so what's that like? It's
Talk about the
cool,
day
dude.
it came out.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Matt and I were together. Matt and his wife Tracy came up and visited Logan and I in Alberta, and the day that it came out and launched, we just went fishing and just went away.
Out of cell service all day.
Out of service on the river all day.
Okay.
So nice.
And we got back, and it was phenomenal. I mean, for me personally, this project, obviously for those of you who've seen, it's very personal. For me, it's very emotional, and it was there's a certain amount of vulnerability that I think I put forth in that on a personal level, outside of the professional aspect of it. That I was anxious about, truly, and because if people didn't like it, it wasn't a part of my work. It was a part of my life and a part of my character. And so, with that, putting that out, there's a vulnerability and a ton of anxiety. And then to come home and flick on the phone after catching cutthroats all day, and to see the absolute avalanche of support, unlike anything we've ever released, and especially for me and my community and the community of my friend who passed away, the amount of support was absolutely shocking, and it's just so rewarding because
that is cool.
Yeah, there are like very concrete examples of this film inspiring people to make changes in, or just see things differently or appreciate things differently. Or, there's one example that I reference of a guy who works at Rapala, one of our clients. I'd never spoken with him before, and he said he watched that film that day, went home, signed his kids up for hunter safety, called his friends, they signed their kids up, and now there's a new hunt camp in Ontario where I grew up because of that family. I mean, that's as good as it gets.
It's funny you guys went fishing on the day it came out.
Great.
And I remember, and I've told this story before to people who have been listening to Gritty Bowmen for a long time. When I first started producing content, so I recorded my first podcast, and I remember editing it, and I'm like, and it's not a big deal. And I also did a film, a couple of short films and so I'm this classic guy who was making films and then showing them to his mom and dad and his wife and stuff and his buddies and being able to check it out. And they're like, "It's really good. You should post it on the internet." And I'm like, "I will," and then I don't. And like a year goes by, and I got all these little short films and clips, and I haven't shared any of it because I'm like, what do people?
Probably because they were still on your SD card.
We'll get to that later. Okay, so I'm like, I didn't want to do it, and my sister's like, "Don't, just do it. And I remember one day, I'm getting ready. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this podcast thing. I'm just going to jump in and do it, and I edited it, and I had a couple of shows lined up, and I had a film that I was putting into Full Draw Film Tour.
Blacktail one.
This one was one with my buddy and his dad. It was about a father-son hunt called "It's Not About the Horns." So I put this film together, and I'm getting ready to send it, and I'm just like, my heart and soul is part of all this work. Like I am, and so I'm like, and there's this thing where I don't know if people like it, and what I did was I said. I sent it to my sister and just said, publish this. I'm going to go away. I'm turning off my phone. I don't want to even know. I couldn't bear to be around after I published it. I needed to get away and just pretend like I didn't do it and then come back after a day or two and see what happened. It's just so much emotion for me tied into what I put my heart and soul into creating. So I totally relate to that. It's just, but now I look back on it and think, I understand how I felt back then, but I'm like, what was the big fear? Like, what was the big deal?
But the thing is, you were more present in the moment. Otherwise, would you just be by your computer counting the likes and reposts and comments? The thing is, you have to live your life, and it shouldn't be dictated on what you post and how people consume it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just kind of like, what if somebody comes along and says, I hate it? Or
they will.
That part was stupid.
I hate it.
Yeah, like
people.
Gritty Bowmen, you're an idiot or whatever. There was that kind of like, well, and people did.
And
people
then you just
were like, that podcast was
too many
stupid.
biceps in my ears.
Like what I heard a lot was, I wish that Brian would stop talking and just let Aaron talk, right? Like, if he just would shut up, the podcast would be better. You know what I mean? Like, so there is a certain amount of anxiety that comes from putting yourself out in public, and you do make yourself open to criticism. But man, how rewarding it is when you go out and you do that, and you realize you're changing people's lives.
That's the thing, and you can take it as an opportunity to either say, "Man, that guy said that as a total idiot," or like maybe he's right. Maybe I ought to adjust something. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can play that a couple of ways, and maybe you'll grow, and maybe you'll just think everybody else in the world is an idiot.
I'm like, people will complain about something that I did or whatever. I'm learning as I go, but the feedback has been helpful, very helpful, and it's changed my approach and how I do things, for sure.
And good feedback truly is hard to get, because I think that there's a certain understanding that people have that you are vulnerable with it, and so they don't. It's really hard to get people to say specific constructive criticism.
Do you post much on YouTube? Because I find people are okay with like telling me.
That was a very funny joke. No, we don't. And but I have found
Vimeo is much kinder.
It is,
but YouTube is like, I found all the meanest people are on YouTube. Facebook is the next. Instagram is the next nicest. But it's different. There's different people's consumption habits kind of dictate. There's a meaner community on YouTube.
The forums are pretty funny.
The forums too.
You Google something, it's like, oh, I didn't see that. Like, I wonder what these guys had to say, and it can be constructive, and that's where I learned that a lot.
Constructive.
I learned that a lot of people thought we flipped on purpose,
and making you.
And
cry.
you're like, it's like, man, we didn't flip on purpose. You're just like firing up, and it's like, this is pointless.
Don't even engage it.
Yeah. Who comes up with the storyline and stuff, and like the roar? Okay, how did you determine? Do you kind of get the video, have a general idea of the shots you want to get and stuff, and then go film, and then come back and then after you've done you've got it all, you're kind of like, now we have a story to tell, or do you already kind of, how much of it is done before you film?
The challenge with what we do, for the most part, is it's. I mean, this is our jobs, and we do it professionally, and we need to sell stuff, and we need, in doing that, we make promises to clients, and those are promises that we have to keep. So when we go, we knew we were making a film. The beautiful part about the Beyond the Roar project was that a lot of stuff happened. So it wasn't, there was absolutely no stretch required to create something.
What you got on film carried itself.
Yeah, and that dictated the story. I mean, that depends very much project to project. Game of Inches was something that we probably had more of a precise vision about going into. But with Beyond the Roar, it wasn't necessarily a message based film where, like, Game of Inches, there's an agenda. Like, be nice, go have fun and do your thing. Whereas with Beyond the Roar, it was a story of of adventure, and the nature of adventure is it's unpredictable, and it ended up going, it was very, very eventful, and it was very emotional. And the thing that, with the nerves that came with releasing that, what I knew is that it was something that was genuine to, it was genuine to us as a company, as Rockhouse. It was genuine to me as a person in the film. It was genuine to my friend Will, who was with us, and Andrew, who wasn't, and knowing it was so genuine. And telling that story as it was, it gave, that's what really gave us a lot of confidence. And I think that's why the film has resonated with people the way it has.
Yeah, I look at what you guys do, and I try to edit my own films. Right, I'm kind of like self-taught. I'm an internet warrior. You should see what I learn on the internet, like on YouTube, a lot. But
that's what we all are, though. That's how we all learn to.
I learn that, and then I look at what you guys do, and then I try to I look at what you did, and I'm like, how did they do that? And then I try to Google it and figure it out.
Hit us with some specifics. What are some questions?
Yeah,
we're here. Name a shot.
You're putting me on the spot here. I kind of need to watch the movie and then go.
Has he even
how
seen
do you do it?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, some of it I know, I'm just not going to recreate because I don't have the equipment. like sometimes, like when you guys are doing this slow motion around the hunter in the tree stand, and then he's shooting his arrow slow motion into a doe. Like, how do you get that shot?
You use a tree arm, and you use the tree arm to film whitetails.
Yeah.
Basically, you put the camera on the tree arm, you push the tree arm. It's like a jib, so that swings around, and
it seemed like it was way far away.
Depends on the lens.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing is you guys have some serious equipment. We talked about that at ATA.
Yeah.
You're like, well, you're not going to recreate what we're doing on a $5,000 budget.
You could try, and it's close. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the one thing that I really think is important is don't feel discouraged because of the lack of equipment.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I just came back from a shoot for GoPro in Alaska, making a film entirely on GoPros, and I think it's going to be cool. And I think that if you spent $5,000 on camera gear and you bought the right stuff, and then now you could make a really, really cool piece. So don't feel discouraged based on the equipment that you have.
So I say that all the time, and this last film I made of our mule deer hunt, I have another part with Aaron's buck, the chase for his, but I just published mine. My camera died, and then I forgot my charger for my GoPro, so I was reduced to the iPhone, and I recorded most of it with my iPhone, the dirty little secret, and it's actually not a bad film. Like, people love the film.
And there's the one shot that you just showed before we came on. Is this being on the air?
Yeah.
We're on the air.
We are.
Before we came on the air.
Oh.
It's like that's a compelling shot. You can see the emotion. You can see where you are. It doesn't have to be lensed beautifully and lit beautifully.
I'd rather it be that way, but it told the story regardless.
And there's some transparency in that. That's important. I mean, that's one thing that's difficult to maintain and balance is you want things to feel transparent and relatable. And when you're using technology like that, that does the trick. And that's the most intense moment. Maybe that anyone can have without, putting their life at risk, and it came through.
So what do you think is critical to, because then there's the opposite where a guy spends a lot of money on equipment, right? And he has a killer, like not to, knock on anybody's work, but I've seen films where they're beautiful. They cinematically, they're amazing. And yet, other than appreciating the scenery, the film is not touching me at all. It's not influencing me. It's not making a difference to me. What?
I think the fact is everybody's at a different level. Like when you saw that film and it didn't touch you, 2 years from now you see that guy's film and you're like, man, where'd that guy come from? So there's always a level of like, and the process of elimination, like, hey, my battery died and my GoPro charger's gone. Yep. You hacked it because you figured out what to do, and by the way, you have 120 frame capability on that iPhone. You could totally shoot that doe shot in slow motion with the gear you have.
One I have.
Yeah, and the thing, and that's from a visual standpoint. But the one thing that people can't buy their way into is the ability to tell stories and understand, human beings and what they feel and how to make them feel. And that's the part that I think that as people dive into it, they forget and. You can't spend your way into success in that regard.
No. That's back to everyone priding themselves on being a student of life. Curiosity for anything.
Yeah.
There's a million stories. We could walk a block and find 10 that would be worth telling.
Yeah.
And people, they just don't see that in the world around them at all times.
Well, I look at, films. In fact, I had my mule deer film out. I did it in, 2 days. So I threw that together as fast as I could, because I wanted to come down here and meet you guys. Seriously. And so I'm editing fast.
He leaves Alberta, where we live.
True. But I'm editing as fast as I can, and I get it out. But it's the night before. It's late at night, and I'm now ready to pull my hair out because I'm frustrated with the music and the sequence and how it's playing, and I'm just like, I've been working on it for too many hours in a row, and I should probably just take a break. But I have a deadline. I want it done so I can move on because I got stuff to do. So I'm sitting there and I'm frustrated. And I'm like, how do I? So I call my daughter in, and she's 13, and she's awesome, and she tells stories. She's a good storyteller. And she's like one of my biggest helps for when I'm editing. Like, I'll ask my wife, she'll sit down, she'll look at it, and she'll go, cool.
Tracy.
Yeah, Matt's wife's. If you go to our website, we have
quotes.
Like our recommendations or like with testimonials.
Testimonials.
Yeah. And one of the ones is, it's good. Matt's wife.
That's right. Like, Suzanne will be like, it's good, hon. Yeah, but what did you think of this? That's fine. I mean, I really like this part, but it's probably fine. That's like, and she doesn't really compliment my work all that much, right? So I call my daughter in, and she's the opposite, We're playing this music, and I showed it to her, and she's like, I really liked it. Really? Yeah, okay. So I put in different music, and I have her come back, and I'm like, okay, here's the timeline, watch this. And she watches it, and I'm like, well, what do you think? She goes, Dad, she's 13. What emotions do you want the people to feel when they watch this?
That's right.
And I'm
That's
like,
the question.
I don't know, which emotion did you like better? Like,
we get to craft this.
Right. And she's like, well, I think it depends on what kind of feel you want for the movie, because both that music or that music, they both worked. It's just I feel completely different about this story when I hear this music playing under this section. And so then I'm describing to her what I want based on the seriousness of the event and what's going on here. I want a certain feeling. And she's like, well, then I think this music does that. Well, and so I went with that. And I was really glad when I went to bed and woke up the next morning and I played the two with a fresh set of eyes. I was like, yes, my daughter was totally right. Well, I don't think that I look at that and I think I have this. It's the same footage, it's the same even voiceover, but just changing the music changes the entire movie. And like you were saying, Matt, about stories. I really do believe that when you tell a story, I could take the same video and tell 10 different stories with it.
Yep.
Depending on how I craft it. And I think that's pretty neat. The storytelling part of it, though, I think is the part where people fail.
I think that it's the hardest part because, you have to look at it not as many people they're filmmakers or like I'm a photographer or I'm a filmmaker or I'm a writer,
editor. Yeah,
and it's like at the end of the day you have to be a storyteller first, and I take a ton of pride, maybe more pride than I do in filming or editing or directing. I love writing because it's like I have a pen, I have paper, I need to make people feel something, and it's like you have to get back to that, and people get, and that's the hardest part I would say about editing, is you climb up a mountain and it's sunrise. And there's the most epic, beautiful shot you've ever shot, and it's just so sweet.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there trying to put it in your movie.
And it's not fitting anywhere.
And having the power to say, that doesn't make sense, we're not going to use that, it hurts so bad every time still. But that's where I think you're seeing those people struggle, is they get very attached to the cinematics of it and don't think about how that informs and advances the story. And to your daughter's point, like how to make people feel.
That's key. Every decision you make as an editor or as a filmmaker has to further
the story
goal of the story.
I do I do the same thing. I'm like, I watch it, and if there's a clip in there that doesn't move the story along or isn't really doesn't push it, then I'm like, then it's just got to be pulled out. It doesn't add the value I want it to add. It takes away in the long term. My first early movies, just to what you said earlier, Colin, about how, you watch a film and then 2 years later you watch the same guy produce a film, and you're like, whoa, that's a much better film. You look at some of my earlier films and then later films, and it's like the content I've made, and there's a big difference. And one of the biggest differences is there's not a lot of extra like shots I'm in love with stuck in the film.
That's another thing, going back to the gear. Like, I rented a Ronin, and it cost me tons of money, and I just really need to have a Ronin shot in there.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, you can honestly see it. Like if you look at people, and their work. And if you can look, like if we reflect on our work, yeah, I honestly think that we could probably sit down and you could show us a selection of films and we could tell you what their most recent purchased product was or what they're renting. Truly.
Just got a drone.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
I've been like, that guy just discovered slow motion.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's we say that though, like slider, but like drone is one of the ones we've been doing lately. It's like, congratulations, you just bought a drone. Now let's make a different film. It's like, oh, and we fly over the guy, and we go around the guy, and we go next to the guy. It's like, oh, tilting the camera now. Oh, you got a newer drone.
That's
it's like
sick shot.
And it's just and it and you overreact to it because the last few shoots we've gone on, we haven't brought a drone because it's just like we can't handle this anymore. But you have to use all the tools and understand that they're tools and not and it's taken us a while. And Matt and I always play tug of war over this, but it's the equipment it's tools and you can't fall too deeply in love with it. In my opinion,
I have friends who make who record video, and then they'll come back from the hunt and they'll be like, "Look, dude, here's the video I got from the hunt, but there's really nothing we can do about it. There's no film here." And then I'll take that video and I'll be like, "No, dude, you can totally make a movie out of it." And I'll scrap like the first movie with my buddy and his dad. We made a movie out of it. It was great. Mm-hmm. So to me, I find it challenging to just to try to make a film. Like, I don't get kill shots a lot of times. I'm in a situation where to me, it's not the priority of my hunt, and I don't want the focus of the film to always be that part of it, like a cliche hunting film. I want it to have a lot more stuff with it, and so I'm going to tell the story even if I don't have that on the film. And generally, people don't care. At least Gritty Bowmen people, they've been totally good about that. No one says, oh, he didn't get it again. Instead they're like, I love your stuff. So I think that telling that story is a skill that has nothing to do with the equipment you're using, or it does have something to do with how you edit, though.
And it does have something to do with equipment. I mean, you can't say that I think it's difficult to say that equipment is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. I just think that a lack of equipment should not be discouraging. We just released a brand film for an iconic 100-year-old company that was, I think it's up over 300,000 views that we shot on an SLR.
Yeah.
We have two red weapons at this point. We have almost $500,000 worth of camera inventory, and we shot a brand film that the client loved, that viewers love on an SLR. And at the end of the day, you have to get the stuff there, and you have to have it in your hands and use it and have batteries and have lenses and have everything work to make a film.
Yeah.
You can fit everything you need in a backpack. One backpack.
Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, as we speak right now, we're going to shoot a Cabelas commercial early next week. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a lot of stuff. We're going to have trucks filled with lights. We're going to have cameras and backup cameras and people with specific jobs to record audio or to change lenses. I mean, it's a giant production. But that works for this. It doesn't always work, and it having equipment in this case will make our product better.
Yep.
But sometimes you need to be. It can be limiting as well.
So, how does a guy get better at storytelling?
Read.
You read.
Listen to other stories.
To understand consume.
Yeah.
And be around people that are interesting and find things that are interesting.
It's a good answer.
And learn to like stuff. That's one thing is I see people who are just like, that's stupid.
I think that it's also a part of being humble too, being interested instead of interesting, because sometimes people try to tell their own story because it's like, hey, here I am, here's what I've done, instead of what people would like to
I agree
to have. So I think that's a big part of it.
And what were you saying about people liking stuff?
Like, learn to like that. It's right along the lines of what Logan's saying. Is it's like, look at something and find something that you like from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't just be so awesome that
Debbie Downer.
You can't like anything. Come on, try to learn and open your mind and get new ideas in your brain. It's important.
And break it down, and instead of and it depends on what your role is, and as you step into larger filmmaking where you have a more specific role. But if you're a one-man crew or a small crew making a film, think about how you would tell the story in 3 minutes if you were to tell someone at a bar. Or if you don't go to bars, bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
I don't know where you go if you don't go to bars, so I haven't done that in a long time.
That's a
Aaron
thing.
Hitchens.
You can not go to bars.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I'm like, how long have we been talking?
the
There's
weight-
got to be a beer near here somewhere.
At the weight racks.
But like, if you had 5 minutes to tell somebody about it, or however long your film's going to be, what are the things you're going to tell them? You're not going to tell them the grass blew and a leaf fell and the stream trickled by and it kept trickling by. Like the visuals are words; they become words.
Right.
Pictures worth 1,000 words. You don't want 1,000 words of a sunrise and then another 1,000 words of a sunrise. You have to.
Well, when I first started making films, I also felt like I had to like tell each step. So I would over-record stuff and over-produce stuff. And later, I got to a point where I could show time had passed without specifically saying, it's 3 days later. I don't need to say that. Like, people figure it out. It's been a few days, right? Like, and letting the viewer, like, connect the dots, giving them just enough that they can follow with the film without being explicit, that really helped me tell a better story, too.
Another thing I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys feel this way, but once you put a piece out into the world, it kind of becomes whatever the viewer makes it. And you can direct that a little bit with the choices that you make in the story, but they take pieces that you didn't realize or didn't try to put in there, and they're like, man, for me, the thing about this film was ... whatever. And that's really cool to see, too.
Well, I think back to what you said earlier about read and, new people, meet new people, learn new things. Dave Ramsey, who I really like, he does like, financial peace and
Better Than I Deserve, Dave Ramsey.
Yeah. And he has a list of books that he highly recommends if you go to his site, and it's just business books, spiritual books, self-improvement books, all this kind of stuff, right? And I read a lot, like Chad knows. Like, I read new books every week. I'm a big Audible guy. And he says, you're the same person now that same person 10 years from now that you are today, except for the books you read and the people you meet.
Places you go.
Gosh, stole
places
it.
you go.
Dang it.
You're so lucky to have me.
You really are, Logan.
You guys read each other's
I
minds.
hate you so much. This is why I sit on the opposite end of the room.
And, Matt calls those books on tape.
Books on tape. You got that book on tape again?
You're pretty analog, bro.
Yeah. Old school.
But I think it's true. Like, so I try to read a fiction book in between, or a nonfiction book in between every fiction book I read, and I find the fiction books are they're entertaining and stuff, but I also like the way stories are told. And then I use a lot of what I learn how I hear a story to help tell my own stories.
And I think there's really something to telling your story or writing it, when you're writing your voiceover, and just read it out loud, and then listen to yourself reading it out loud, and you will hate probably some of it. And
Dude.
But the thing is do it once, peel out the stuff you hate. And if you sit there and keep listening to it, you're just going to keep hating it and more until then you just overcorrect. So I think that's one thing that people get hung up in too, is over revision. We deal with this a lot on the commercial side of things, but it's like, look at it. What are your instincts? Make the changes with fueled by those instincts, and then send it.
Voiceover's tricky stuff.
You have a great voice, though.
Thanks.
Good thing.
I have tried to, when I first did voiceover, I wrote it out. Chad did one for Drop Jaw Flies, his podcast, and it's like, welcome to Drop Jaw Flies. Come and follow along with us on our show. And it's just so like robotic and wooden. It was bad. No, mine was bad too.
Hey, want to come film my podcast? I'm going to make fun of you for a while.
No, same thing. We were talking about it today. My original voiceover, I go back and listen to it, I'm like, whoa, that's really bad. It's gotten better. It's a skill. It gets better over time. Part of it just is getting comfortable with hearing yourself and being on camera and hearing your own voice. And but writing it down is one thing. And then reading it and recording it is another. And most people, as soon as they first start, and you can talk about this because I know a lot of people who attempt voiceover and then scrap it and they do a film without it. So you see a lot of hunting films, especially guys that are kind of DIY, do-it-yourself kind of guys. They're like, my voiceover sounds bad, so I don't do it at all. And what I do instead is I just do these interviews and I piece together the film. But I feel like there's so much to be said that can be said through written word and voiceover in a way that's different than when you're throwing cuts of interviews in from like an experience. People don't know necessarily, for example, when I shot that buck on camera, there's a lot of mixed emotions I'm feeling. You know, it felt like a good hit. It was a good hit, but the buck didn't go down, and I had to shoot it again, and it runs, and then I had to shoot it a third time, and I'm like, that was a really I don't like to see an animal wounded, you know, and I don't like to see him suffer, and yet I'm drawn on it again, and it's just and so, but part of hunting is things don't always work exactly as you have planned, and animals do suffer as a result of hunting. Yeah. It's just you're killing them, and they're trying to live. So there's a battle going on here.
I've never done it, but I imagine dying sucks.
It can't be ideal. And so I don't know. I sit there and so I wanted people to know how I felt about that. What's my stance on that? How can I sit there and in a way like, you know, efficiently and coldly kill an animal, right? But at the same time also care about the animal and feel some level of concern and right? Well, I was able to write down exactly how I felt in a concise way, kind of explain where I'm coming from, my stance on that. And after I shoot that buck, I was able to put into words that stuff in voiceover and then add it to the film. And for me, now the film has a whole nother level of meaning that if I just went without that, you wouldn't know. You just couldn't get it without it.
And you have to be very, very articulate to get the things from interviews in a concise way that you would if you were to do a voiceover. And the difference, I mean, when we're doing films that are profiles on people or we want to try and understand someone, we'll interview them because that's instinctive and that's natural and it's super authentic and sometimes too authentic. And voiceover is crafted. And it depends on what you want to make people feel. It depends on what they want to learn. You know, if you really want it to be super informational, I would argue that it's actually better to do record interviews because it's going to offer more of an insight. Whereas if you want to direct people emotionally, I would say that you do voiceover, and then that's with right. Recording it, I've I guess at this point done quite a bit of it because I write a lot of scripts and I guess I have my own writing style and people don't read it the same way that I wrote it.
Right.
And I end up being on the hook for quite a few voiceovers. And I mean, it is very, very tricky, but I mean, that's probably the craziest that I go. Like if you're like sitting there watching me edit it or us, I think it's like peak maniac because I'll yell and stuff to get my voice right, and I'll listen to certain songs to get myself in. Well, you kind of end up being, but you'll listen to certain songs to get yourself in the mood.
Yep. And then we had the cricket incident in the studio.
Yeah, that cricket, man. There was this cricket once, and it was like, I got to find that audio clip. I completely flew off the handle at this cricket because I'm like right in the middle of Game of Inches recording it. You know, it's an emotional part, and there's just this cricket, and it could not be killed. And it just
couldn't find it.
No, man. And you could just hear me kicking boxes and screaming at this cricket in the corner. And then I just come back and I'm like, and the thing about deer hunting, it's like this transition. But one thing that I think is important with voiceover, and I can speak to it specifically with Beyond the Roar when you're doing a larger piece like that, is if you were to sit here and talk, and I'm sure all of our voices, depending on the nature of the thing that we're saying, it changes quite a bit.
Yes.
The speed and the cadence.
Mine gets really high. It already is really high.
But over the course of the film, that changes. Yeah. So what I did is I basically looked at the script and figured out what is the part that I wanted. What is the best part of this movie, or what is the part that I really want to drive home? And for me, the part that I connected with the most, that kind of offered my ethos on life, is when I recover the moose and I speak about the power of a moment. Mm-hmm. And so I recorded that paragraph basically the way that I thought was the best.
Yeah.
And then I took that voice and that approach and use it for the whole film. So I built that around. I wanted to deliver that one thing as impactfully as I could.
Yeah.
And then went back out from there.
Interesting.
I think as an outsider, because for beyond the roar, you know, I wasn't part of the voiceover or the filming, but as someone who was close to the editing process, the part about having the voiceover be so effective is that it's evident in the film, the raw emotion of harvesting a moose, both for Aaron and Will. So that's extremely evident visually.
Yes.
The voiceover complements that so well because it's not in that moment emotion anymore. It's reflective emotion, and that I think is the benefit of having a voiceover versus just doing it. Because in that moment, you want to understand the raw emotion, and that's what you get visually.
Yeah.
Then step away from
us
it.
Sobbing and shaking.
Yeah. And then step away from it, digest what happened in the whole situation, and then articulate it in a way that's very representative to you and the situation. I think that's a real benefit of voiceover.
And being able to return to the headspace that you were in, so you're saying something that's reflective, but with the emotion of the moment. You know, like at the end of the film when we're talking about our friend who passed away, you know, I wrote a eulogy for him, and I would go back and I would read the eulogy, and thinking about reading the eulogy, you know, my eyes well up now as they did then, and then I would, you know, I would feel that emotion, and that emotion would come through in my voice, and that would sort of shape the way that it made people feel.
I think that's really critical. I do a lot of the same things. Like there's certain films or music that reflect how I feel, that reflect how I feel about what we're talking about, and what my voiceover is supposed to be. So it's sort of like, quote unquote, getting in the mood, right? It's like there's a certain amount of prep I think that you need to do. You think that's funny? Is that
quote unquote get into the mood?
That's right.
Welcome to Hotel Monaco with Brian Collin. I'm calling the shots.
You gotta kind of get in the mood, and then from there you can nail that voiceover, right? But I do agree about the interview stuff. So my first film, I interview Anthony and his dad, and I know what I want them to say, but I can't say, I need you to say this. So I'm interviewing them and pushing and trying to get at their true, honest emotions. And Anthony, my buddy, who's like he's a police officer, he's a state trooper, he's a tough guy, you know, he's kind of he's just who he is, and he's not gonna be very open and stuff and real, you know. So I'm asking him about his dad for the film, you know, and asking him all these questions, and he's kind of like giving me answers that are like surface answers.
My dad bought me cereal when I was a kid.
Yeah, took care of me. My dad's great. I love my dad. I like this about hunting, blah, blah, blah. My job was to try to get beyond that to where he forgets the microphone is on, forgets the camera's rolling, forgets all that stuff, and just starts being as just a real and deep and genuine as I can. People sense baloney. They can sense when you're faking stuff. And he, ended up having to ask him stuff about his kids and real life stuff, which then got him going in that. And then when I went back to his dad, it was like all that stuff was, he just put the barriers down, forgot about all that stuff, and he was really opening his heart and stuff. That was critical because that's the real Anthony. That's the one I know. And that's the one I want other people to know when they watch this film. And then I took that voice, that interview, and same with his father, and then could weave it together. It was a ton of work, though.
Mm-hmm. And it takes a while to figure out, and every person's different, how you extract that correct answer and get them.
Because I can imagine you guys interviewing people for stuff, and they're just like giving you the, I can't work with this footage.
It's pretty consistent, but I mean, that's a huge part of our job, right? That's a huge breaking down that barrier, and
so you got to be people. You got to be good with people, right?
People.
Yeah, you got to kind of. Yeah, I was going to say
be a people person.
You got to be compassionate and empathetic, and
I think vulnerable as well. Like you guys don't have a front when you're filming, and so therefore, it's not the talent doesn't have to have a front as well. And that's a good way to break down barriers.
It is. You have to be at eye level,
all
the time.
And we're probably too authentic sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get in trouble for that sometimes.
Very true to ourselves.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean,
our exuberance for life sometimes isn't always welcomed.
We have
Some people are more adult and grown up than we are.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
Never
about.
grow up.
This is the longest that I haven't dropped an F-bomb probably since I was 9.
Dude, right here.
Your dad,
Nice job.
your dad is going to be so proud listening to this.
Yeah, well, it's not over yet.
But that's one thing I was going to ask next, authenticity. I think that's another place where people fail when they're making a film. You guys nail that. Like it's honest stuff and people feel it's real. I just feel like a lot of hunting, TV, hunting, film, hunting kind of stuff often is forced or staged or
And everybody wants to be a badass.
and there's always like this product plug, like casually mixing up some Mountain Ops on the side, or whatever. I love that. There's a Blaze bottle. Which I don't mind promoting products in a film that people love. I mean, I see in you guys have different companies I can tell from the film, but it's not in a way that is
Flagrant.
yeah. Or it takes away from the story.
From story. That's exactly right.
and we don't craft story around product because we use products and we are lucky to have sponsors and partners and clients that are legitimately a necessity or they're a high utility products. So if I go and I shoot a moose with a Hoyt bow and it dies, that's a great opportunity to showcase the Hoyt bow because there's a dead moose in a Hoyt bow.
Right,
So
right.
I take this hunting because it's lightweight. It's like, obviously, it's lightweight and waterproof, and so the moose died.
You use all the products on or off camera.
Yeah.
So it makes it natural.
That's a huge part about planning your film too. If you're in the game of trying to get sponsors or trying to get involved, is look at what you use and talk to those people. And if you look too far outside of what you use, there's going to be immediately a breach of authenticity.
If there's no organic product integration into the thing,
Yeah.
you just you're setting up expectations that you're probably not going to meet with whoever that would be.
What about as far as authenticity in the story? How does it? I find that a lot of people, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Okay, in terms of skirting the line, you're doing a hunting film, right? Fishing doesn't matter. They don't have souls. Nobody seems to care if you kill one.
Which is a strange thing because growing up, I was more hesitant. As I started hunting, I was a complete catch and release angler, and I still find it almost more difficult to kill a fish than to kill an animal. I don't know why.
But you fly fishing people are
because you can get
the public is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It really is, but it's
but
super
in the fly
weird.
fishing world.
But I didn't
But
grow
you
up fly
a spin
fishing.
fisher.
Yeah, so it's just like, when you're taking it and you're holding the fish in your hand and it's like, oh, time to stop living, whack, oh, not hard enough, There's just this, that's a super strange thing to me that I really resent because it's like, oh, show a picture of some ducks or something. And you're like, there's 15 ducks in this photo, but you can put it on TV. And if a guy's holding a deer, it's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes here. I've always thought that's super
bear.
odd. Yeah, a bear.
I mean, a
It's
bear.
hard
And
because
Logan's interesting because she we went and we bought all our tags in Alberta this year. She didn't buy a bear tag.
No.
Okay, explain yourself, Logan.
Okay, so here it goes. Back to the game of inches. Don't hate on
Back to don't hate me.
Don't hate on anything. Exactly.
Hate is gonna aim.
Okay, so I've just got into the hunting industry.
Yeah.
Oh, you just got into hunting.
Oh, I've not been exposed to any of this. I didn't grow up hunting. It's totally new.
You haven't killed an animal.
I've killed turkeys so far.
Yeah.
Don't forget it.
Yeah.
Doves.
And
Shot doves.
Doves.
But before
Yeah,
this,
okay, so doves were my first
This
harvest,
is
which
new.
was hilarious. It's like killing the symbol of peace and love for my first thing. I was slightly struck, so I wasn't sure how I'd be with it. And so far, I guess I'm okay with harvesting birds. And I've been trying to harvest my first big game animal this fall.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going after it with a bow. Not that I won't try rifle, not that I'm against rifle, but for me, I'm afraid that I will struggle with the death aspect. And the way that I know personally I can counteract that is truly feeling like I earned it. Mm-hmm. And for myself personally, it would be that close to the animal to be able to get the shot off. Who knows, my perspective might change, and that's it. So I want in that moment to not feel any
like you cheated the system,
or regret or remorse or anxiety in that moment. I want to just feel like I conquered, and so that's what I'm going for.
And this was a super frustrating thing when you're like, it's the first day of hunting season, and Logan's like, "Oh man, I'm kind of relieved we didn't kill anything today. I want to feel like I earned it." And I'm just like,
yeah. Now it's been like 25 days of hunting, countless kilometers. It's like, okay, when it happens, now I've earned it.
Good work, honey. We didn't kill anything again. Like, wow.
No, I've earned it. And then also too, it's funny, but people have they assign different. I guess like levels to animals, and some people don't care about termites, but they care about, I don't know, fish and whatnot. For me, I just know I'd struggle killing a predator right now, and so I want to harvest a non-predator first, and I just knew I'd struggle with a bear, so I didn't want to have a bear tag, and that might change, and it's always progressing. And so for me, I want my time hunting to be reflective of what I'm comfortable with, and that'll be a constant evolution, because I didn't know if I'd be okay with hunting doves, and then I was, and I didn't know if I'd be okay hunting turkeys, and I was. Now I know for sure I'm going to be okay hunting big game animals, because like I want it so badly that when it happens, it's like you'll all know about it. But yeah, it's a constant evolution in how it's going, and so we'll see.
That's seriously legit. They're all going to know about it. I worked my butt off, and I am going to share this.
Logan's going to get like a piece of black construction paper and like cut out a picture of her animal and shine it in the clouds over all the cities, like Batman style.
That's cool. It's interesting that you feel like you really want to earn it, like going out and doing it yourself. I do find it odd, though, in some ways, where people go out and or just blindness, I guess, where people go out and they buy their chicken and their beef or whatever at the store, but then they don't want to kill an animal.
Oh, it's been super hard for me, again, because I didn't grow up in the hunting industry, defending my viewpoint on it, and just the change in now my hobbies. But I think that what works for me is I have an environmental science degree, so I was always okay with the conservation aspect of it and sustainability and organic meat. But that is hard for sure, to defend your point, and also to have people understand. But I think that's the thing. Everyone doesn't have to understand. Everyone doesn't have to be okay with it. As long as you're okay with it, and that's why I'm hunting the way I want to hunt, because that's how I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It's been a very interesting journey hunting with Logan. Because, for me this season, the most successful thing that I can accomplish is to have her enjoy it and be with me next season. And, you just take a very different approach when you're hunting with somebody who's sort of finding their way and finding the things that they enjoy. And you slow down a bit. And it's amazing how many times that you take a nap on the mountain per Logan's request, and you wake up and there's an animal there. And you're like, this is a great way to glass.
This actually works pretty good.
I'm going to sleep for 3 hours and wake up, and they're like, oh, there's an elk. Like, that works way better than when I actually used to glass and be awake,
When you, what I was going to drive at was when you go out and you make a film, and let's say you kill an animal and it's on film. And we talked about this a little bit before, a controversial, animal death not too long ago was Josh Bomar and the bear. You have Cecil the lion, right? And you have these things.
Don't forget Harambe.
Yeah.
So when you have these animals,
never forget.
When you have
Rest in peace, Harambe.
When you have these animals get on film that are taken, I shot my buck, and I could certainly show I shot it, and then yay, here he is, and skip the other two shots, right? And I really have considered that many times. We shot a bull, not this year, but last year, my buddy, and it went through. It was a muscle hit. We did a whole podcast on it, and it's open country, a lot like where we were at in Alberta. This bull, we ended up chasing for 3.5 miles and like 3,500 vertical feet down. And then it was a rough, and it was bleeding, and, it was an all day affair. And then finally it just got too tired and lost too much blood, and it laid down, and then he was able to shoot it, the final arrow. Well, you want to be able to show, which happens a lot, this clean pass through, and the animal dies within, a few seconds of impact and doesn't really know what happened. But then there are those hunts that don't happen that way, and the animal dies a less than ideal death. And I have shown all of that. Like, I feel like if I don't tell the truth about what really happened, then I kind of let people live in denial about how life really is. So is Aaron shooting the trad bow? Okay, this is his first time. He's like a competitive archer with a compound, like dialed to a dime. Like, he can hit what he needs to out long ranges, and he knows when he draws that bow and he puts the pin on, he's hitting what he's aiming at. Fast forward to a recurve, it's anybody's guess. I mean, it's just things change, and he's a proficient recurve shooter, and yet he's wounded more animals this year than he's ever wounded before. Well, he's been extremely honest about that, and he has shared, this experience. So one day he missed a mule deer 3 times in a row. We posted that. I feel like people are watching us and watching what we produce, and they're seeing that honesty. And at first I was worried about, to an extent, the hate. Because it's very easy for people to hate on that, and especially non-hunters or anti-hunters. But I feel like there was a trend in the industry where people are not, and then outside of hunting, where they're just not accepting reality. And people would shoot something, it would have a horrible death that took 6 hours, and then they just fast forward and portray a hunt where that was this perfection. There wasn't that whole other part, the real part didn't happen.
And that's an interesting, and you have us there, right? Because when the vast majority of the work that we do is commercial work, and if you were to look at the last film that we made that didn't have a commercial motive, it would be quite some time ago and probably had nothing to do with hunting. And the reality is, when you're selling a bow or a gun or a product, there's just not an appetite for that, and that's and I think that's something that's really enabled people to connect with you and connect with your content and the stories that you guys tell, because they are hyper authentic. And when you get to the the type of content that we're doing, that doesn't exist. And I've honestly never even considered if that opportunity arose, would we tell that part of the story or not, because that's so far from our reality. That the way in which the animal dies, I guess, is inconsequential as far as as far as it affects the satisfaction that the person feels in the journey that it took to get there. And in some ways, I think there's a depth of authenticity, and it was super refreshing. I remember actually watching the 3 misses in a row, and it's just like letting down the guard. Like, that's what I think is important, whether that's somebody missing, or if you're willing to show and you're in a position to show wounding an animal. I think that there's an appetite for imperfection, and I think that's something you guys have done a great job with, is sort of letting the guard down and letting people see into that everybody makes those mistakes, and it's and embracing them and celebrating them as part of the journey. I think that's really what's important.
But I think it would flop. I think it would be a complete disaster if we didn't put, if Aaron didn't show that he practices all the time, that he's an efficient shooter, that he wins, recurve shooting competitions, that he's among the best of the best when it comes to shooting a recurve. Then when people see the miss, they still know that this is reality. There's a whole bunch of it's a difficult skill to obtain and an endeavor to take on, and yet it's done. And for the same thing with the deer, I think you have to put context around it, and that's what I'm saying is I would like more filmmakers to tell the truth, or not the truth, but the reality, and then add context to it so that people understand. They don't take it the wrong way, I guess.
It depends on the type of film, though. I mean, if you have a 3-minute film or 5-minute film, which is basically what people want, they want that 2 to 5 minutes. You look at some content's going as high as 7. Most of the stuff that you're seeing coming out now is that 2 to 5, 2 to 7 minute range. if you go and you shoot an elk and it lives for 2 hours and you're a dozen rounds into the experience, by the time you show all those shots, you're 3 minutes in.
No, you're right.
And then by the time you explain it,
Josh
it's
was
over.
telling me, he's like, dude, if I did that with this bear spearing thing, it would have turned my movie into it would have been 20 minutes longer. I struggle with that. I'm like, well, then make it 20 minutes longer, because I just, or don't tell the story. Don't go there. So I don't know. We kind of tackle the whole thing. Go for it. Be as real as possible, but also make sure people understand, that this is part of life. That's reality. That we practice hard. That we hate this. That we don't want this to happen. This wasn't the goal. That we try to put everything in our favor to avoid this kind of mistake. I don't know. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it just.
But you're right. When it comes to commercial stuff, it's like,
or even the length of the film. I mean,
true.
And what you it's what do you want people to feel? I think for you and the brand that you've built around Gritty Bowmen, you guys are very accessible. You guys are very honest. And I think that people feel like they're joining you on your hunts.
There is no fourth wall. It's just like it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone, dude.
It was broke too many times.
That's right.
Just keep swinging.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Well, before we go, because I've kept you guys away from dinner and everything else, but I wanted to ask really quickly, for those listeners that are fans of your work, first of all, where can they find more Rockhouse Motion?
A lot of the stuff that we do, if they're hunters and anglers that already see, we do a lot of commercials that pop up. But if you want to see our full body of work, Vimeo is probably the best source for it.
They can look up Rockhouse Motion on Vimeo.
Google Rockhouse Motion Vimeo or search Rockhouse Motion on Vimeo. And that's pretty much where you'd be able to find the bulk of it. Not too much of the stuff that we make and are proud of doesn't end up on our Vimeo page.
Same with Instagram for
photography.
Non-motion picture.
Yeah.
And then in terms of what's your favorite affordable camera right now?
The one you can get your hands on right now.
That's a total cop-out answer. But
Dude,
that's absolutely true.
You're killing me.
The one you have with you.
Yeah, the one you have.
Well,
with
since Nikon didn't pay their sponsorship bills.
Exactly. I don't know.
Bang for your buck.
What's affordable?
Yeah, what do you
man?
like?
Like, if you're
1,000 to 3,000.
honestly the camera you have, the A7S II, if you've got $1,000 to $3,000 to spend, you want to take some
Sony
photos.
A7S II.
Yes.
It's
Or
got
the
high
R.
frame rate capability.
Exactly.
It's got really great low light capability.
Dollar
It's
for
lightweight.
dollar. That's the best way you can go right now.
And then we'll carry around all our stuff that's better gear and more expensive gear, and then you're like, oh my goodness, by the time I take this out of my backpack into everything, you don't end up shooting anything on it. So it's better to have that because you actually have it in your hand as opposed to swinging up. You're like, which brings us back to the point that Colin said, the one that you have in your hand.
Here we go again.
So next, where do you learn to edit? Like, what are your resources that you go? Is there tutorials? Is there a certain person
For decision making and editing? Is that what you're asking? Or learning software?
Learning software.
The thing with editing, I mean, it's before Matt and Colin dive into this on a more granular level, is it's not that complicated. And if it is complicated from a technical level, you're doing it wrong. Because I know very, very, very few things technically about editing. But if you can cut a clip and place a clip, don't worry about your transitions and your fades and everything else. And there are fine-tuned things with the color grading and sound design and all the stuff that we'll get into. But just keep it simple. And
I can do that part. I can lay it down in a timeline, and I can chunk it all out, and I can put a film together.
Yeah, I mean, technically it doesn't take
But the part I want is the transitions. Like, transitions are...
But watch our films. It's like hard cut transitions, or we'll fade
You'll
to black.
very rarely see a dissolve. Like, it's super rare.
That's
like
what I mean, though. Hard cut transitions are the best, and that's what I try to go with. I'd use a lot more like fades and whatever in this last film. But normally, as you watch what I do, I try to get rid of all of those and just have it be, because they feel more natural. They just flow. And that's what I copied Game of Inches and saw what you guys did. But still, you do have cool shots and transitions even with hard cuts.
Guide and eye. Like, that's the...
Guide and eye.
It's so if you are... You don't want people having to jump from way over there to way over there, then back to over there.
And if
you want to take them from there to there, take them here and here and here and here, and now we're over there. And we don't go all the way back there unless you want to disrupt. Like if you want to cause an emotion that is disruptive and hard to understand, then sure, do that.
Okay.
So if you want to have like a serene part of a film,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have somebody walking, and then you go to a time lapse of the sun moving, and then you follow that across the frame. It's very easy for you to digest. But to Matt's point, if you want something to feel chaotic or uncomfortable, you place the fish jumps over here, and then like something crazy happens over here, and it's quick cuts, and it's all over the place. And Colin says this all the time with his retouching on Photoshop, and it's the exact same with filmmaking. Is tell them where to look, tell them how to feel, and really it's to Matt's point, it's about placement and flow of that attention, and that goes back into shooting, which then goes back into direction, which just comes back into preparation. If you have a Ronin, and if you're going to use a gimbal or you're going to use your Osmo, that's smooth. If you want to have something feel intense, don't shoot it on a Ronin or an Osmo.
Just because you own it,
Yeah. So you
shoot it handheld.
And that technique in the capture influences what you have to edit with.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, that feeling. You just have to go back step by step.
My stuff's gritty. It's kind of like it's my excuse for being a little sloppy and shaky.
One other thing I would
Shaky
add.
happens though.
Yeah.
One other thing I would add to that is because you asked like where do you go to learn
Yeah.
how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that helps me personally is to watch somebody else's work, and then when they do something that catches my eye or is out of the ordinary, try to understand why they did that. Like, did they make a decision on purpose? Probably yes. Mm-hmm. And so what was that decision, and what is it about the shot where the scene's really intense and the camera's pushing into the subject while he's talking, and he's like being really intense? Whoa, that's a technique that you can use when next that comes up in your project.
Right.
Like you can if you figure out why, you can't just like open the toolbox and grab a hammer and get some screws and hammer screws in and then hammer. You can't use the same tool for everything. The drone has a reason. The voiceover has a reason. And when you watch somebody who knows what they're doing use it correctly, then it's in your toolbox too.
I'm a lot faster than I was before, right? Like I put this movie together in a couple days. When I sat there and I do some of these transitions, though, some of it is like it takes me longer to make a film, I think, than when I watch some of my friends that are good at it, because I just have to experiment with like, no, that frame didn't work. This is how I want to, and I put it. No, that didn't work. Chuck, and I'm putting stuff in and just feeling it.
That's a very regular thing. Like to me, like I always say, like this thing is starting to breathe. Like it's coming alive. This is now like an idea that is, something that you can feel, and you just have to like edit for a while and go away and come back with fresh eyes and do it for a while and go away, and then there'll be a point where like the door opens and you're like, all right, now we're off. Like we have direction and a pace and a mood, and then you get to the finishing stuff that me and Colin love so much, and then that's another. It's one more opportunity to like. Tell them how to feel. Tell them where to look. Use the color to set an emotion. Use contrast to make them look somewhere. And sound. It's the same exact thing. They're all like layer cake.
That's the thing that's hard about video. Mm-hmm. It's not still like you got it, and like that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
Video has all of those layers that you have to like get right.
They're powerful though. Work. It's powerful when it comes together.
And the thing is too, when it comes to that is, start to think. And that you have to let it breathe and step away and dive back into it more and more. The less that you plan the shoot and the more reactive you are during the shoot. But if you go into a shoot, and we'll go in some cases, and we'll have a day. We have one day we're going to make. We just came back from one in Florida. Mm-hmm. We were shooting for Suffolk's 832. It's a braided fishing line for Rapala. Great company. Great fishing line. It's really strong, lightweight, water repellent. But anyway, we're down in Florida.
Well done.
Yeah, no, could you tell?
Hopefully they were listening.
Yeah, exactly. This one's for you, Jack.
Don't worry, we'll send a link.
Just go into 25 minutes.
But Matt's on the camera, and I'm directing, and we have an AC which is pulling focus. So basically, what that means is Matt's holding the camera, and there's somebody with a monitor that sees what the camera sees. and they have a knob and they're adjusting focus so that Matt can focus on framing, and the other person can dial the focus ring on the lens. So there's 3 of us, and we have one day and to make these spots. So we go into that, and we're much more deliberate about the shots we shoot, the way that, and if you watch during that day, we started with different equipment, and as the day went by, that we came off the stabilizer, and we went, the shot started to get closer, and we're almost editing that, as the day goes on, because it starts out smooth and slow, and then in the middle of the day, and as we're catching fish, it's splashy and crazy and kinetic, and as we, the way that we're shooting that really is editing it before it happens, because when we go to that footage, we don't have an opportunity, to film a guy catching a fish. We went out the one day, we were hoping for sailfish, we caught a sailfish. You can't dig through all the sailfish clips. Like when I shot the moose you
got one moose shot.
Exactly. Yeah. That's one clip. That and if you look at that piece, where when I shoot my moose and the way that's cut, that's literally one camera clip, because with our $85,000 red camera was completely soaked, and so that was all we could capture. But really start to think, how from as an editor, it makes you better as a shooter, which then makes you better as a director. And if you're doing it all yourself, you have to put on those different hats and don't ignore what you're going to have to do later when you're doing it in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, engineer it and reverse engineer it and continue to just refine your take and your approach to everything. And I think you'd find it if we went on a hunt with you and you're like, hey, Rockhouse, come film my hunt, you would probably find that we film less than anyone you've ever been with filming. You'd be like, these guys aren't filming anything.
And people will be like, oh, are you guys going to shoot stuff? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, we will. And I'm going to completely steal a line from Warner Herzog, because me and Colin are studying him right now. Uh-huh. We're not garbage collectors. We're thieves. Go to the most beautiful places with amazing people. We don't need to film the whole day. And then you get into an edit. If you do that, and you're like, I don't even know where to start. I'm going to be here 2 weeks on this edit.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never heard of this.
So, yeah.
No, for real. I've been there. And I film way less now than I ever did. Mm-hmm. And part of it was, though, I just would run the camera from the morning till dark, and I'd have days worth of video, and I'm like, what do I do here?
Well,
exactly.
and then you find those clips, and then you realize, hey, I've used the same clips from the same time of day and the same part of the process every time, and then eventually that's all you shoot.
Yeah. With us, it's very, there'll be times when we're not filming at all, mm-hmm. and people are wondering why we're not doing anything, and then 30 minutes later, we may be literally running lenses to each other, and it is frantic. As
jumping
frantic as
in the water.
Exactly. It's just like a bomb goes off, because we know what we need is happening right now, and it's only going to happen right now. You're only going to land a giant sailfish one time today.
Yeah.
And we have commercial obligations that are going to be filled no matter what. So Aaron's swimming with sharks, and fish are trying to attach themselves to his chest while he's filming. I mean, that's a regular
our
thing.
AC's puking over the side of the boat.
Our AC's
Matt's
puking over the side of the
camera,
boat. I've got
slipping everywhere, waves coming over.
We need these stories later. I mean, I got to, first of all, anyway, we'll go on another tangent.
First of all, anyway, I'm Brian Collins.
So I just sit there going, swimming with sharks? I mean, and you guys do. People can follow you on Instagram under what?
At Rockhouse Motion.
Yep.
Yeah. At Rockhouse Motion.
And if you want to see behind the scenes, that's where to go now.
And can they follow Logan?
Logan Ray Ross.
Yeah.
That's
RAE. Logan Ray Ross. That's mine.
And if you're super keen, Logan's Feelings.
No,
Yes.
I hate
at
you.
Logan's
Oh
feelings.
my goodness.
It's an alternate Instagram that provides an unfiltered insight into Logan's true emotions.
Aaron has a very loving boyfriend and made an Instagram account to troll me at all times in life.
You're so lucky to have him.
Wow.
And with that, we're done.
That's amazing.
At Colin Photo.
_Rockhouse.
Colin Photo _ Rockhouse.
Yeah.
And it's 1L?
Just 1L. Yeah, thank you for asking that. And it's, that's great. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's not Colton. It's Colin.
Can we zoom in on watch his mustache is just like turning up into
hanging
it
right now. It's like a tuning fork over there.
Matt.
What is my Instagram?
Matt _white
Rockhouse.
Yeah, I think that did you
Mike?
change
Yeah, I
that?
just changed that.
Matt.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
_white _Rockhouse. And Aaron?
Aaron Hitchens.
Just straight up Aaron Hitchens.
He's the luckiest person ever on Instagram.
It's my actual name.
It's your whole name.
AARONHITCHINS. Lots of ENSs out there.
Yeah.
INS.
It's tough when
INS,
people
and
misspell their name.
you're two A's in your name.
Yeah.
Not like Aaron Snyder.
That's always
One
puzzled me.
Yeah,
especially when people call him Aaron.
It's you just got to, or
don't really have
Aaron. But I mean, anyway, that's another thing. So
I feel like it's probably pretty important that we mention the rest of our team.
That's a great point.
Oh yeah, good call, Colin.
There's more of you.
Yep. Yeah.
Dustin.
Dustin Lutt.
It's his. What's his Instagram?
Dustin_Rockhouse.
I believe so. I'll check.
Check real quick.
He used to be Dustin.
And then we've got William Poulin.
And
then our animator.
I was really hoping somebody else would pronounce his last name
Yeah.
for me.
Poulin.
That's great. Poulin.
Now you guys have a really I follow you on Instagram, and Rockhouse, but there's a lot of fishing pictures. Is that just me?
The thing with fish is that you can catch them every day. and
I
shot
kill one deer a year.
Whereas moose, it's a little less frequently.
Yeah, so that's the thing and I struggle with that. Is it's like, how many photos will I post of one animal? And like, it's just like, yep, yeah. Remember the time I shot an elk, guys? Look at my elk again, different angle. I'm holding it. I'm smiling. I'm not smiling.
Dude.
Serene, celebratory, with a beer. You know?
So here's my thing with Instagram and sharing that stuff. It has to really be genuine. It can't be like, oh, I need some content today, right? Like, I just feel like if I'm genuinely sharing a picture of an elk or a deer, and I'm showing 4 or 5 different angles or multiple pics of the same animal, dude, it's because I have a genuine reason why I want to share that and that angle or that picture again. I don't even sweat it anymore. I just put up when I feel like putting up. Mm-hmm. It's not. Just go for it, brother.
Yeah, but that is a good point about fish,
easier
though.
to catch fish.
And
I can
and
catch
they're
multiples
different
in one day.
And fish are cool, dude.
Yeah,
they look
different
cool and
species.
shiny. And Mr. Dropjaw over there has cool photos, and I'm like,
yeah. And the thing is with fish too,
it's true, isn't it?
They look all shiny.
They are
People
shiny.
love shiny things.
Silver, they're like little diamonds coming out of the water.
And it's interesting because they're easier to photograph, but harder to. Well, I wouldn't say they're easier to photograph. But they're hard to film because you can't see them because they're under the water. And even when you can't see them under the water, it really never looks as good by the time you're through with it. But with a fish, there's different parts of the action. Like when you catch a fish, that can be a 1, 5, 10, 15-minute event that you can photograph and capture in that arc of emotion. But when you shoot something, that arrow gets there in a real damn hurry, so you don't have that same level of and there's only so much I can post about.
He said "damn" too, which was pretty mild.
It was mild.
I'm starting to sweat. But as you, I just get and there's a lot of beautiful sunrises and there's lots of great photos of us hiking around and looking through tubes, and it's like, how many glassing and hiking photos can I post? And they're beautiful, but I guess through our journey we have taken so many of those photos that I guess I've become a bit jaded about using them, which is unfair because I think there's some really good stuff that all of us have.
Well, I'll be checking out the rest of your pages. You're a cool follow. I mean, people. I can't vouch for you guys because I haven't really stalked you guys yet.
We're not.
But
cool.
Aaron, you're on top of it, man. Your Instagram page is cool.
Thanks, boss. I appreciate that.
Speaking of Instagram, we've got Dustin_Rockhouse.
Okay.
That's the other one. And then William is Willie with a Y. Poulin.
When was the last time you posted?
Poo?
Poulin.
All I heard was poo.
Poulin. And when was the last time he posted? June 5th, 2014.
It's a pretty active page.
All right. So people may.
He got a brand new workstation that day. That's what happened.
Never forget. Je me souviens. William's French.
Boy.
Yeah.
He's our animator.
I figured he was.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 of us are in Kansas and 3 of us now are in Canada.
Canada, yeah.
That's neat.
International.
Yeah. And you guys just travel a lot.
A lot. 17. I was counting on the way down here as my 17th flight this month to get here. So in the past 30 days.
You guys were doing an Instagram. You're working on your Instagram story.
Yeah, the Instagram story is a new thing. We've been inspired by.
As of breakfast today.
Yeah.
Inspired by
you.
By the world.
Because I'm like, this is an adult man who people like, and he like routinely talks to a camera and puts it on the internet, and I'm like,
I learned that from Jordan Harbertson.
Yeah, and that's true. I was also inspired by Hey guys, it's Jordan. Just out here, yeah, dude. Yeah,
he's a good time.
He is a great time, and honestly, I think that there's sort of this changing element to the commercial world and to social media where I guess that the people have an appetite for knowing you and knowing you beyond your final work. And
I don't buy stuff unless I don't.
You should follow up with the unless.
Like,
send me stuff.
No. It's all got to be free, or
I'm out.
All right, I guess you make pretty good movies. Sorry, but if you do, you buy it at Cabelas. World's foremost.
We'll send you a free T-shirt.
You look like a large, but that looks like a small.
Yeah, I told you I can't help it. So no, I don't buy stuff unless it's like I have somebody that I know personally that I trust say, you should buy this. It's a great fishing line, or I like this bow, or, this product works. If it comes across on a commercial.
Don't say this, please.
It doesn't mean squat to me.
That's our entire.
I go, that's really cool and that's artistic.
Oh, wait, do you really love these Rockhouse T-shirts? You can purchase them online at rockhousemotion.com.
That was a great commercial.
And read the scripts.
You have to have a pretty girl, too. That works really well.
Yeah.
After listening to this podcast, I feel like they know Logan. And that worked. As a real non-commercial.
It's right.
Commercial.
For real, I think people respond to social media today, consume, and decide what to purchase through direct interaction a lot more than they used to.
Sure.
I definitely think there's something there. I disagree that the commercials. I think commercials are widely effective, and you have to build people are buying product, but people are also purchasing a brand, and so the brand has to speak for itself, and the product has to speak for itself, and influencers like you speak on behalf of the product, and I think that what's really important is that from a strategic standpoint for companies is that they build these that they invest in these influencers and that they inform people. Product videos for some people, if you're a super high, and this is getting a little granular, so cut me off if nobody cares. But
I'm deeply interested.
But product videos, if you're buying a car and you do a product video, you're telling a person a bunch of information about your car, this specific car.
Agreed.
I think and when you make a product video for something like a bow, I think you're in the middle ground where what you might be telling an end user, but really what you're probably doing is telling the guy that already bought it how he can justify having it to his friends and informing him as a salesperson. So I think that's one thing that is really important is still, and we're creatives and we love making branded content and we love telling inspirational stories. I still think there's room for great product video and great product storytelling because you're not just putting that video in front of people and evaluating it off its direct online viewership.
Yep.
It's creating those salespeople and creating those influencers and arming them with the information to justify the purchase and celebrate the purchase of the product.
Okay, all right, you sold me.
God.
But for
if
real,
you want a product video, go to rockhousemotion.com.
Like-
the contact form.
like I've seen you guys rolling with Yeti, right? They're friends of yours. They support you, right?
Yeah.
So you got Yeti, and then you
Keeps
got
hot, cold.
well done. So then you got Coleman.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't support you guys,
No.
Maybe doesn't keep things as cold or as hot.
right? So my point is,
Apparently Logan doesn't want to buy stuff anymore either.
so. But what I'm getting at is there is a brand image associated with Yeti, and there's a brand image associated with Coleman. I kind of want to be part of the Yeti part more than the Coleman part, right? Like that's a there's a certain brand image that comes with Yeti, right? Outdoors, a bear can't even tear that thing apart. It keeps your stuff cold longer, something like that.
Something like that.
Cold, hot. Logan Ross.
Yeah.
It represents you and your values. So when
But
you
that-
have that product, it's showing everyone else what you believe in.
And I think that came from commercials,
Somebody made a commercial and you bought it.
100%.
Yep.
Like I used to,
Like, that's
I'm a
my
big
team.
fan of Jeff Simpson. Arctos Collective, or
I think
don't know
it's
what he's doing now.
39 North.
39
would
North.
be the current one.
I really don't know. I just liked some of the stuff he did, and earlier there was that Yeti one where the cooler's in the back of the truck changing.
Yeah, buddy Kyle Nicolay cut that one. Mm-hmm. It's a great
That's
spot.
That's cool, and it just kind of has that outdoor gritty feel to me, right? Coleman doesn't accomplish that. So back to the social media thing. It doesn't matter if my buddy Chad is like, dude, you should buy a Coleman. They're awesome. It doesn't come with, they didn't succeed on the brand image side enough for that personal connection to overcome the brand image gap. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really interesting balance. And, I think that people are very reluctant to sort of accept this, but we build our identities out of the things that we consume and the brands we align ourselves with.
Oh, dude, that's
I'm
why
a Cleveland Browns fan. That means that I like suffering, and I'm very
a glutton
patient
for punishment.
Yeah, exactly. I hate victory.
Sort of a little bit of stupidity.
Yeah, yeah. But just the way as you celebrate reading, the books that you read are part of who you are. The sports teams you like.
That's why I drive a Jeep. Well, I don't. My wife does. But
great story.
Great point.
But I'm close.
My wife hates roads, guys.
But you got to admit, there's a whole image and feel associated with that. You're right. It's all, I surround myself with certain brands that I really like because they got brand imaging that goes with it that I identify with and represents who I am. Exactly. I also like today with Mountain Ops. We did a podcast with them down at their offices, and we talked about their Conquer Hunger campaign.
Yep.
Right?
Talked to Jordan about that yesterday.
That's something that I value and like and think is really cool and want to support and get behind and makes me happy that I'm kind of part of that Mountain Ops group. And because
you're proud user of the product, because when you spend money on product, not only is there a financial contribution going somewhere, when you put that logo on or you consume that product, you are endorsing what that brand stands for. And what that brand stands for is legitimate humanitarian effort. Commercials,
though, are I look at your guys' stuff and some of the commercials and promotional stuff you guys do. It's on another level. Like you said, don't get discouraged. I mean, I try not to get discouraged. I try. But my stuff's not as good as yours.
My muscles aren't as big as yours. You spend a lot of time working out. We spend a lot of time making movies. That's pretty much how it goes.
Well, down the road, I might call you up and ask you a few questions when I'm editing a film.
Yeah, and it'd be fun to make a film together.
Yeah.
What I think would be a fun project is would be for both of us to go on a hunt, or for our team and your team to go on a hunt together. And we make our hunt film, and you make your hunt film. In ours, the arrow soars through the air, super slow motion. Before it hits the animal, we cut to black and wake up with tenderloins over the fire. With Brian's, the deer's running around with an arrow in his leg.
Now we're going to sneak up on him.
Whoa, dude. There's going to be a lot of GoPro talk interviews.
I think it would be a cool, truly a cool project.
That doesn't sound that appealing to me. No, but no.
Fair.
Very. It is what you guys are producing is very on another level. Do you see very many other filmmakers in the hunting industry? One thing I wanted to ask you was, you guys are in this and you compete for contracts and commercials and stuff like that. Do you get approached by more companies that do hunting or fishing?
Hunting is a bigger market, and so the answer to that is hunting and shooting. Shooting is if hunting or if shooting weren't a part of hunting, I think it'd be different. But because shooting is such a giant industry, and,
guns,
guns and
everything surrounding it,
guns and everything surrounding it. I mean,
apparel, the accessories, the optics, and
really,
yeah.
I think straight up hunting, if you look like we are only a hunting company or we are only a fishing company, it would probably be more balanced. But once you get shooting going, it's a whole different
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Stuff that you just wouldn't, like people buy plate carriers that don't go to war. I didn't know that. But I'll sell them to you. and I've come to understand and appreciate that. But it's definitely it really needs to be split into 3 parts. Fish, hunt, shoot, because that's certainly a large portion of the market.
Fish, hunt, shoot. Interesting. All right. Well, I guess I'll let you guys go. Is there anything you guys want to say before we go?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah, it was my pleasure. Well, I'd love to do this some more. Get into more technical stuff as well as some of the most kind of intense experiences you've had doing films. Like the whole river thing is its own story.
There's a lot of them.
The swimming with the sharks, that's another one. And all the travels and things that you guys get to experience. There's a lot of folks who would like to live vicariously through you and kind of, experience some of those, hear about those experiences you have. So we'll have to stay in touch and
we're going to try and continue to make Instagram stories so that they're inspired by the way that truly you've built a great brand and a great following around, the adventure of the Gritty Bowmen. And we are very fortunate in that our lives is in some ways similar, in some ways different, but all the adventure. And,
dude,
and
if
so
Matt was like storying you with the sharks, I'd be on it every day.
Yeah,
I want to see you get ate. I mean, that's like a thing.
And to be fair, if I get eaten, I would definitely like it to be on film. So I can't blame you for that. But and hopefully it fits all within a 10-second clip.
Logan, what's it been like?
Oh, goodness.
That's a very open-ended question.
Yeah, that is an open-ended question. It's been a trip for sure.
Yeah.
It's great. It's hard because Aaron comes home and then he's like, "Oh yeah, we flipped." I'm like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." And then I see the footage and the raw footage. Like for me, it's extremely visceral. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like that's the person I love floating down the rapids, and so it's cool because I get to experience a lot of it by being there, but then also the stuff that I'm not present for. It's kind of interesting for sure.
Would you
You're
say
so lucky to have it?
Would you say you're lucky?
So lucky.
Hey, dude, did we get 3 on this podcast? I think we got that in there.
How many days? How many times a day does she get to hear how lucky she is to have you?
I don't know. You haven't told her yet. As many as possible.
Tell me, you said earlier that he looks dreamily into your eyes. And you think
he'll look at me and it'll be so loving. I'm like, oh, Aaron's gonna say something so precious, and then he'll kind of get a smirk and say, "You're so lucky to have me."
And if you want to know,
you're a humble man.
Yeah.
Middle name.
Logan actually
Humility.
said something about me being humble on this recording, so I'm going to save that forever. But if you want to learn more about Logan's feelings, go to Instagram at Logan's Feelings and see just how lucky she is.
All right.
Just as lucky as we are to have been on the podcast. Thank you very much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you, guys.
Realistically, we're lucky to have each other as a team, and
yes.
Yeah.
Hey, we can all sing now, Kumbaya, and hold hands if you want.
We could sing "Oh Canada."
Yeah. Logan won an archery shoot in Salt Lake
we don't need
City
to bring
as the
this
only
up.
Canadian. So.
We don't need to bring this up.
I'm
Anyways,
lucky
thanks
to have her.
thanks for having
All
us.
right, circling the drain. So stay gritty.
Stay gritty.
And rock the house.
That's right. Rockhouse Motion, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, gritty friends. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. If you're a hardcore elk hunter, or you want to be, go to the Elk 101 website online and check them out. Our friend Corey Jacobson is killing it with some of the best elk hunting information and entertainment on the web. Alright friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things, or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
Gritty Bowmen.